So, morning, afternoon, meditation. I already went on my spiel about meditation. Important to do that. And then from 2 p.m. to whenever, I don't really know what after that. I'll usually do what could I call it? Research slash hobbies and interests. Now, for this period from 2 p.m. to about 4 p.m., I'll give myself 2 hours to research things that I'm interested in. That's kind of like what hobbies and interests is research and hobbies and interests from 2 to 4 p.m. That gives myself 2 hours to just kind of get up to date with the news or learn more about something I'm curious about, or you know maybe work on my hobbies a little bit more. Uh, this covers a lot. So from 2 to 4 p.m., if you think about hobbies and interests, uh, I'm interested in the guitar. I have guitar time on the Elude Stalwart channel, and guitar time is pretty much just something I started doing. I was playing the guitar, and some days I would play it really well. So I decided that I was doing good enough to where I could actually share that experience. And something I've heard, or during this block right here, whenever I'm researching my hobbies and interests, or just like researching things I'm curious about, I have certain resources that turn me on to new things as well. Uh, like I don't want to get sidetracked from this thought. One of the things I started learning, one of the things I learned or heard about was, I think I talked about this in the last episode, was the more time and effort you put into something, the better you're going to get at it. And the more you come back to that, the better you're going to get at it. So after you put 20 hours into a hobby or an interest that you have, then after that 20 hours of focusing on it and working on it, you can get to a point to where you can begin to autocorrect, or you could begin to recognize you're messing up and correct your mistakes. So if you keep on doing it past that 20 hours, you start gaining different levels of mastery. And after playing the guitar for, when did I start playing the guitar? Like 2008, I want to say. Like I guess I've been playing the guitar on and off for like almost 10 years already. And wow, like I don't even realize, like I never realized that it's been that long. It doesn't feel like it has been. That's another weird thing, is like I feel like after 10 years I should be some kind of complete badass with the guitar, and I don't really feel like I am. I still feel like I'm very much learning. And I think that's probably the case with most people you talk to who play, is like you hear them play and they'll probably sound really good, and you can give them compliments on that, but like to them they're probably still learning. And I think that's true for anything. Like anybody doing most things in the world will tell you, even if they love it and like they're the best person that you know that does that, like whether it's like music or art, or you know anything like that, whatever they're exploring, they'll tell you that they're very much a novice at it, and that they're not as good as they'd hope to be or want to be, or as good as people that they looked at for inspiration on these things. So I guess maybe this kind of proves the point I'm about to make. Was you hear people, they talk about these things that they're interested in, and it's easy as the person who's like interested in the hobby or the interest. It's easy for them to write themselves off as not an expert, but really everybody's an expert at something. Like everybody has some kind of a mastery over something in their life, and it could be art. It could be like drawing, it could be music, or even video games, like streaming. Like streaming itself is its own thing that most people probably don't realize that they're further along than other people are in that. So you're potentially a teacher of that thing to people who know nothing about it. And it's easy to sell yourself short and not think that you can provide valuable insight about something that you're interested about, or something that you're cared about, that you care about. And like, it's easy to write yourself off and not show anybody this thing that you have a passion for. So I guess kind of like what this 2 to 4 p.m. thing is like really personal development. That's probably personal development for me. Like, researching and my hobbies and my interests, working on those is my personal development time. I give myself 2 hours of personal development, which, I mean, that's actually more like a psychological personal development thing. Like this whole list actually that I've been making is really personal development if you look at it that way. But um, the real work, I think, in my day gets done from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. whenever I'm looking into something that I'm interested in or passionate about. Because I think ultimately, like, if my life is going to become anything like that I can be like proud of or tell a story about, it's going to be this 2 to 4 p.m. block every day where I'm working on something that actually matters to me. And that helps me apply the philosophies that I'm developing, or the whatever it is. It's going to help me apply it to everything, like this 2 to 4 p.m. block. And for research, if I talk about research, I told you earlier, there are certain resources that turn me on to new things. So like TED Talks, I was saying earlier with the cold shower therapy. TED Talks are the idea behind TED is technology, entertainment, and design. That's what TED stands for. And these TED Talks are a platform for people doing interesting things in the world to share their ideas at. So the whole theme of a TED Talk is ideas worth sharing. So somebody goes out there and they do something fancy in the world, and then like they learn something from it. They realize that the moral of the story is this, and then they build the talk around that, and they go up on a stage, and I think they get like a 20-minute time limit, and they have to give some valuable idea that they believe is worth sharing to the world. And that is a good platform to learn new things. For me, like, I love TED Talks. I love because like a lot of the stories are really deep, and a lot of the things they talk about is like really like insightful and philosophical even. So I've learned a lot from watching TED Talks, and it's turned me on to a lot of different things, like CERN, like gene manipulation and stuff like that. Like they've been talking about that, technology improvements and like augmented reality stuff. And they had one guy up there with a 10 billion times slow motion camera or something like that, where he would take pictures that were faster than the speed of light, and he was able to actually show a light beam going through a Coca-Cola bottle, and we were able to see for ourselves that light travels in photons and becomes waves. It's like both a photon and a wave, depending on, like, I don't know. The idea behind the 10 billion times slow motion camera, though, I thought was very intriguing, because it almost provided you with not an X-ray vision, but like with the computer technology that you could use with that camera, like you'd be able to find out uh, a room before you have to enter it, like how many people are in that room and where the objects are in that room, kind of like sonar, but with light. Like you could shoot a photon of light into a room and get a complete 3D map of what's in that room with just these photons bouncing around and the camera recording like the bounces. So like these things like I find extremely fascinating, and like I wouldn't have known existed in the world before I watched that. And like I have to take a break from TED Talks every once in a while because I get dreamy. Like my head ends up in the clouds, and I imagine like what the world will be. And like sometimes it's kind of counterintuitive for me because like instead of focusing on what the world is and what I can be doing in it, like I'm focused on what the world may be. And like I don't know, like it it's you can I think you can get a research paralysis with some things. Like you can get a like if you have an idea to do something, and you research the heck out of it, and you want to find out exactly how it works before you actually implement it into a plan or take action on what it is. Like you can end up like drowning in research because there's infinite information out there. Like you can you don't have enough time in your day to process the hundreds of billions of bits of information that exist out in the world or the universe. And like that's kind of what's useful about meditation is like somehow it teaches you that. It teaches you that like not having information is just as important as having information. And I think in life like taking action is what ultimately like makes or breaks like what you make of yourself, I guess. But yeah, personal development, research, and hobbies. Another good thing is the Joe Rogan podcast. I listen to Joe Rogan, and I got turned on to him probably about uh, a year ago. I want to say, like, I don't really know dates and times and stuff like that, but if I had to guess, it was probably I've been turned on to him for probably about a year listening to his podcast because his format, like I love his format. He brings somebody into his house or his wherever he has his podcast station at. He brings somebody into a room, sits down with them, and talks to them. He just has a conversation, and that doesn't happen anywhere in the world anymore. Like you can't sit there and talk to somebody for 2 hours about like 2 or 3 hours about just anything because we're all so busy. It seems like we all got our schedules and our routines like the one I'm mapping out to you right now. I was like, where can you fit another person in this in just this day so far from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. like this all gets derailed if somebody comes to my house. Like I don't get back on that routine for that day. So it's not until the next day that I can pick up and continue where I left off. And for that's kind of a problem, like because like we get detached from people, and that's another thing that kind of leads to depression. But I guess in my case, like that morning stream from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., like that's a social period for me as well. So like I'm getting my social aspect of life kind of in right there from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then also like 2 to 4 p.m. for me that's kind of social as well. I mean, not so much just for for me talking to people, but like understanding like people that are talking. Like I don't know, like a podcast you can listen to and you actually feel like you're part of that conversation, and you are part of that conversation really if you go in and comment and you like write about it or blog about it later on. Like that's what's interesting about podcasts is it's a conversation. That's exactly what it is, but it's like a conversation that exists through time that other people can be a part of through time. And for me, the music or lectures on the stretches and workout period from 11 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. Actually, I guess you could say from 7 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. I'm a part of dialogue. And for me, I guess that's what fills me up. I don't know. Because like some people, if they don't have somebody to talk to, like they go crazy. Like it's actually a punishment for people to be put in solitary confinement in prison. And like I always thought that would actually be kind of nice to be like separated from people and away from like the general populace and stuff. Like to me that seemed like it would be like favorable. But I guess I would say I probably am introverted. Like I'm really only good or useful in like a one-on-one conversation or a one-on